Hit Kickin' Country, Z94, Wild Bill in the midday. Joining us, a very special honor to have Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, Executive Vice President of the Family Research Council, joining us here in South Georgia. General, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to talk with us.
I'm delighted to be with you. Thank you.
Well, we are hearing news reports of the Pentagon saying that Christians in the military could be court-martialed for sharing their faith. This has been out for a few weeks here, this story. What can you tell us about the story right now, and where is it going?
Well, I'll tell you, it's first of all, take this very seriously. I just want to impart that to your listeners. Take this seriously. This is not conspiracy theory. On the 16th of April, a man named Mikey Weinstein, who runs an organization called Religious Freedom Foundation, Military Religious Freedom Foundation, which is a way left, very evil organization that wants anything other than religious freedom. Mikey wrote a letter, actually published an article in the Huffington Post, and he talked about how evil Christians were, and he called us monsters, and he accused us of spiritual rape, and some incredible language that I'm surprised was published at all. And then a week later, he had a meeting with senior people in the Air Force, and after that, he gave an interview to the Washington Post in which he said that he had been assured by the Air Force that Christians, in particular, that were caught proselytizing would be court-martialed, and he advocated court-martialing hundreds to stop them from being these hideous monsters that they are. So that started the ball rolling on this. So we here at the Family Research Council began to probe this thing very deeply to find out what the DOD policy is. And the reality is DOD has given us about 3 different statements now, all of which are conflicting. And people have started coming out of the woodwork to give us vignettes and tell us stories about the religious persecution in the military. And when you add all of this to the fact that we've had an array of incidents in which Christians have been identified as threats in various types of things like war game scenarios, like training sessions and emails and that type of thing, this is a very serious problem. There was an attempt a couple of years ago to remove Bibles from Walter Reed. We know that there was a war game scenario written at Fort Leavenworth that identified Christians as threats. There was a West Point document that was written at their counterterrorism center that identified Christians as threats. There was a training session in Pennsylvania with a reserve unit there where Christians were identified as threats. There have been multiple other incidents where Christians have been forced to suppress their faith. In Afghanistan, they took down the steeple and the crosses off of a chapel there. They've taken the word God out of an Air Force logo of one of their units. There's I could go on forever of the repeated attacks on Christianity within the military. And now the Department of Defense initially said proselytizing has always been unauthorized. Then they came out and said there's no DOD policy regarding proselytizing, which was contradictory to their first statement. And then finally, in research, we discovered that there is a prohibition on proselytizing, which was really implemented back in about 2001 or 2002. So we don't know where the Department of Defense is right now, but there's a pattern of these kinds of things.
The one spokesperson from the Department of Defense, Nate Christensen, he sounds like he is pretty much sending out so many mixed messages, and I'll just read the statement and you pretty much paraphrase it, but he says, quote, "Service members can share their faith, evangelize, but must not force unwanted intrusive attempts to convert others of any faith or no faith to one's belief." And then you see proselytization in parentheses in his official written statement. So it sounds like basically to me, you can share your faith, but if an atheist gets offended, then we're going to start pressing charges. Well, how ridiculous is that?
Well, here's the whole thing. What's the difference between proselytizing and evangelizing? For Christians, we see it as the same thing. But the key is there's nothing in our faith that says that we can forcibly convert anyone to our beliefs, and it's not part of our faith. So if the department is concerned about forcing people or putting any kind of undue pressure on them, we agree with that. Nobody should be forced with regards to faith, but sharing your faith, which we believe is the Great Commandment, the Great Commission, is to share our faith, and we believe that we have a constitutional right to do that, and that's what has to be protected in our armed services.
One of the things that you pointed out, I think, at the beginning of the interview, and I think the knee-jerk reaction to a lot of people is we see something on the internet and people immediately think, okay, this is conspiracy theory stuff. But one of the facts out there is that there are 65 chaplains right now that are in the process of suing the Navy. So this is very real. This is very real.
Absolutely, it's very real. And I just want to say to those who are Christians, and I don't question their faith, but there's been a number of Christians and Christian organizations that have come out and called this conspiracy theory and so forth. Well, I don't know what their background is, but I have 36-plus years in the military, and Tony Perkins was in the Marine Corps. And I would say let's compare your background to ours, and let's just see who's in a better position to know what's going on in our military services today. We still talk to the people in the military. They call us about the problems that they're having with being able to exercise their constitutional rights. So, we didn't come up with this, but we are going to fight for these people in uniform who do not have a voice in this fight.
Now, the Family Research Council, at one point in time, you guys were sending out a petition to the Defense Department. Are you still in the process of doing that, or are there other things that you guys are doing?
Yes, go to frc.org, Family Research Council, frc.org, and sign the petition. There's 165,000 signatures on it now. We're going to deliver that petition to the Secretary of Defense, telling him that there is a groundswell of people in America that demand that the constitutional rights of our military people be preserved. And so I would encourage everybody to sign that petition before we deliver it to Secretary Hagel.
Retired General Jerry Boykin, Executive Vice President of the Family Research Council. We appreciate you stopping by here in South Georgia. Also, to let you know, Fort Stewart is right in our backyard, and we sure hope that this message that you have here is resonating with a lot of people who have served in the military and those who pray for our troops on a regular basis and realize what they're up against.
Well, God bless you for what you're doing, and thank